Hi guys. I wanted to show you some of the things I've been talking about in our presentations. I know it's a little difficult when you don't actually have a camera in front of you to be able to know what I'm talking about. If I say focal length, I can show you. So I thought I'd take the T2i, which is, if you go into the VCP lab, this is the camera that you're going to get. I know different people are using a couple of different cameras, and we'll talk about some of those differences later. But for right now, I'll show you the T2i. And so this week we've been working in aperture mode, and aperture mode on the T2i. So we'll just take a look at what it has on here. This is the top, and right now this is the mode dial. And you would want to put that mode dial on AV for aperture. It actually stands for aperture value. Next week, when we go into shutter speeds, you'll have it on TV, which stands for time value. On Canon's, shutter speed priority is called time value, and that's why it's TV. On most cameras, Sony's and Nikon's, it's an S, which makes much more sense. But right now we're going to use AV, or A, on Sony and Nikon's, and so that is your aperture priority. The other thing that you would need to be able to do is make your ISO adjustment, and I would recommend right now putting it on auto. So you would press this button, and then you would use the dial. After you've pressed the button, you'll see on the back of your display, you would see the 100, 200, 300, 400, and then at the end it has auto, and you would just put it on that. Okay. I can't show you that on here for some reason. It won't. Like if I turn it on, you won't be able to see the back, unfortunately. If you do not see the display on the back, let's turn it on instead of off. If you don't see this display on the back, I wish I could show it to you. Oh, you can kind of see it sideways there. Right now it's on aperture priority. You can see the AV over here. And then when I turn the dial, let's see if that works. You can see, yeah. Well, there you can see it a little bit. You can see that the aperture value, the f-stop, changes. Ooh, almost. There we go. So now it's going up to f11 and down. So that's what you're changing. When you're in one of the priority modes and you change this dial, it's only going to change that priority. So that's all you have to worry about. So you would have your ISO and auto, and AV as your priority mode, and then you could change your depth of field with that. The other thing I wanted to show you about, and it's important for depth of field, and especially when we start talking about portraiture and things like that, you're going to want to be able to, there's several things that affect depth of field, and we'll go into that in the presentation, but I've been talking about focal length. So sometimes I'll say it has a focal length of 18 millimeters, or a focal length of 35 millimeters or 55 millimeters, whatever. And that's to be found on the lens of your camera. You can kind of see it on here. So 18 is the widest, and that's where you have the most. In your image, you'll see a wide version of what you're looking at. You'll see the whole scene. And then when I say you're zoomed in, so you're zoomed into a much smaller area, you would be zooming in by going to a 55 focal length. There it is, 55. So this is to 18, and this is to 55. And 55 is very zoomed in. It'd be up close. And every lens will have a different zoom. Like there's some that are 18 to 70. This one is 18 to 55. And I think that's the one that comes on your kit. So you may have a different one at home. Sometimes you'll see lenses that have a fixed length, like a 50 millimeter, and then has a nice low aperture that you can go to. It's a really nice portrait lens. But for our purposes here, this is what we've got. And this camera goes down to about a 3.5 at its very lowest. Now, when you're in when you're zoomed in, you'll notice you won't be able to go all the way down to 3.5 aperture. You'll probably end up with like a 4.5 or 5.0, something like that. I forget what it goes to. So the focal length does affect your aperture. And you'll see that when you're playing around this week. But I just wanted to get you a little familiar with what you're working with. And when I'm talking about focal length, I'm talking about whether you're zoomed in or out. And then when I'm talking about the priority modes, it's these modes up here on top. And your ISO is also found up here. Now, on the Sonys, you'll find that your ISO is probably in a different place. But in this case, it's on top if you've got the T2i. Okay? If you have any questions, you can always email me, and I'll be happy to answer them for you as best as I can. I'll even make stupid little videos like this. I think I'll try and find a good YouTube video that might explain some of this better, because I'm sure they can do it much better than I can here in my bedroom. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later.